We have got to start again with Tesla. It is directly in the crosshairs once again. That stock has round-tripped since CEO Elon Musk's famous now tweet about taking the company private. That stock right back to the levels it hit after an earnings report that Wall Street did like last week. But it may be signaling there is no deal in sight. Let's go right now to Phil LeBeau in Chicago for all the developing details on an equity fill that is saying investors are not convinced.
They're not convinced, and they're waiting for some definitive word from Tesla or Elon Musk about if there is funding. Has it been secured? What's the source of that funding? Really, there are more questions than answers at this point, and some of those questions are being asked by the SEC. A report this afternoon by Bloomberg saying that the SEC has been looking into Elon Musk's tweets and communications regarding sales or manufacturing production guidelines. That has people saying, well, look, is this a broader probe than simply looking into this one tweet on Tuesday about potentially going private and securing funding at $420? Also, a lot of people have been asking, well, what's been the reaction of the short community? Because this stock went dramatically higher on Tuesday. How much did that flush out the shorts? Not a whole lot. We did some checking with some of the folks who regularly track the shorting community, and basically what they came out with is, look, 34.7 million shares shorted right now. That's 27.24% of the float that is out there. Really hasn't changed much this week. Even though you would think that perhaps a lot of people would cover or bring down their positions, there has been limited short covering since Tuesday. And Brian, the interesting thing is, as you take a look at shares of Tesla, you know this, everybody knows this, the market hates a vacuum. And that's what we have right now because there's no information coming out of Tesla. We have asked repeatedly today. They have said we have no comment regarding anything since Elon Musk put out the blog on Tuesday afternoon, clarifying to a certain extent his position on potentially taking the company private. So at this point, guys, we have a stock that's right back where it was before he even tweeted potentially taking the company private.
You know, Phil, also, let's talk about how you're getting information, because the reality is you've been dealing with these companies, the automobile industry, the airline industry for years. They all do business kind of the same way. Tesla, a little bit of a loose cannon, particularly because of CEO Elon Musk. How difficult has it been in reporting on this story when you've got certain tweets that go out and then everything kind of goes, to your point, into a vacuum?
Look, the key here, Brian, is that you have to ignore a lot of the noise that is out on social media. It's not hard to find the bulls or the bears who are out pushing ridiculous theories or ridiculous information. Separate away from that, and it's a pretty clear story right now. Does he have secured funding? And if so, what's the source of that? David Faber was reporting yesterday and today, and you know he's got extensive contacts on Wall Street. None of the names or the established sources that you would expect, none of the banks, none of the big players on Wall Street, none of them know anything about where the funding might be coming from. It may be happening. It might be happening through some sovereign wealth fund that has not been contacted or has not come forward yet. So what you have to do, Brian, in this case, is you simply say to the company, where's the information? Where is the information? And right now, Tesla's not saying a thing.
Bill, it's Karen. Let me ask something. Aside from the SEC investigation, I mean, he has a duty as a 13D holder to make an amendment. But let's put that aside. If the board or he doesn't want to comment any further, why wouldn't they consider then just halting trading, as they did briefly when he came out with the original tweet, instead of just having the market be, guessing without any data?
Great point. Great point. And believe me, that question has come up. We have tried to get some clarification as to why they would not do this. None of this makes sense to people who are watching how this has been playing out. And that's why, Karen, everybody is sitting around saying, you probably shouldn't have done it this way originally when you tweeted this out the way you tweeted it out. Now that it's happened, why not come out and either halt trading before making some declarative statement? It's a very odd situation.
Also, Phil LeBeau, great reporting there as well. Guys, thank you very much. All right, so Guy Adami.
Yes, sir.
Number one, I've got questions to the desk about what is the cost of borrowing on a Tesla short right now. I can't imagine you'd be even able to find stairs. That aside, Guy, the stock is 19.2% away from that $420 level where he talked about funding secured. Does the equity tell the story that the market says there's no deal.
Well, I have to be consistent and say price is truth. What I also said on Tuesday is I do actually think the stock is headed to 420. I said a couple things. I said, you know what? Technicians will be concerned that Tesla traded up to basically that 389 level, the same high we made, oddly enough, this time last year, and failed. People will talk about double tops. Technicians will love that. I said, you know, in this case, I don't think it's going to hold up. Now, I've been wrong. Here we are at 352. I think the more important number is probably 359, and Karen can opine on that. But I can't believe he would put out a tweet like that and not have something in his back pocket, which leads me to believe this stock is still headed higher.
Okay, so, I mean, and this isn't directed at Phil. I mean, but the absurd, he talked about, you know, watch out for social media. This was delivered on social media. This is a CEO who's making declarative statements on social media. And JP Morgan did a great report on this. They said, look, when a CEO of a major public company makes declarative statements about having a deal done, we have to believe him. And when he says funding is secured, we have to assume that that's a fact. So they changed they rightfully changed their valuation of the company. They went from $198 to $308 because they've got a DCF, plus they look at this thing on an earnings basis. And that's what you have to do with a $420 price tag. Bottom line here, this guy made declarative statements. If these are not true, this is insane. Other bottom line, where's the board been? Okay, this is a board that's so closely aligned with this company. You'd think this would be a chance for them to get out there and show that they're
It is a board where 6 of the 9 members said that they would sign off and that they had discussed it, or Musk had discussed it anyway, prior to his tweet. There was at least some prior discussion at the board level, according to board members.
Even worse then for the board, right? They had some heads up that this was in the works, right? If you approach them to discuss it, I mean, that the board doesn't have any control it's shocking.
Well, here's something that I think is kind of easy for all of us to agree on. Here's a company that actually should be private when you think about it. And
yes.
In this day and age, when a company like Uber, you know, I think its last official valuation was somewhere between 60 and $70 billion, who's raised $15 billion in equity and debt. Tesla, when we think about all of these private companies with this cult of the founder out in Silicon Valley, Tesla should be a private company. We should stop talking about it because we spend a lot of time talking about it. And, you know, and I just want to make this one point. You know, this is a company that Musk owns, what, 22%, 30% sold short. So we're talking like a few dozen major shareholders here, you know, not particularly interesting anymore.